Hi, I'm Danny Pellegrino from the Everything Iconic podcast. And who doesn't love a classic burger from McDonald's? That's right. McDonald's classic burgers are hotter, juicier, and tastier than ever. The patties are cooked to juicy perfection. I love the cheese perfectly melted on top. I love the Big Mac that has a special sauce in every bite. I love the pillowy, soft, golden bun. So in the words of the Hamburglar, which I believe means grab McDonald's best burgers ever before Hamburglar does at a McDonald's near you.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I'm proud to offer premium wireless for just $15 a month. And I'm proud that we have thousands of 5-star reviews from customers like Dan D. in New York, who writes, "I am satisfied customer. How can this only be $15? He wrote it in all caps. I needed you to feel it like he feels it. I hope I did that justice, Dan. And I hope that you try Mint too at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months required. New subscribers only. Renew for 12 months to lock in savings. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com.
Welcome, guys, to this week's episode of Heavy Metal Tones. With me, your podcast host, Tony Evans. A little bit more chipper this week. I do want to apologise. I did sound a little bit off last week. I just had my COVID jab, my 4th one, and I was feeling really down. I actually still have a slight cold, so I apologise if I sound a bit nasal. It is not because I'm trying to sound funny. It is because I am, unfortunately, ever so slightly blocked, got a slight cold. Can't seem to shake them this season. It's just what it is. I'm so sick of the cold. I cannot wait for it to come into the warmth. Now, interestingly, good segue. I'm about to talk about Witchery and Witchery's new album, Nightside. Now, Witchery, if you don't know who they are one of the forerunners, I think one of the leaders in the sort of second wave of Swedish black metal, but they call themselves blackened thrash, and I think that's probably a very good apt term. I think there's also blackened doom you could probably put in that one as well. So Witchery were formed, if you don't know them, in 1997 from the sort of shells of a burnt out group called Satanic Slaughter. Most of the band went on to reform Witchery, so that's that with Patrick Jensen from The Haunted, Ricard Pimthorpe, vocalist from Toxin, Seance and Total Death, and drummer Mike from Seance, and bass Shuri D'Angelo, who also went on to played The Arch Enemy and Merciful Fate. I first saw them, well, I've actually only seen them once, to be honest. I first saw them. I only saw them once on an amazing triple header here in Canberra. It was The Haunted, Witchery, and At the Gates. I had just prior to that, quite a bad accident, so I had broken elbows and broken wrists only just prior to that, and so I just come out of all the casts, so I was a little bit ginger, but it was a good level. At the basement, and it went off. I must admit, I didn't really enjoy At the Gates. They were the ones I really wanted to see, because they're the ones that I sort of knew more of. But to be fair, Witchery blew them out of the water by a long way. When they did their version of Nosferatu, it was just unbelievable. And Angus, the lead singer, I mean, he's a Swedish death metal singer called Angus. It's brilliant, isn't it? When Angus came on, he's deaf, he's corpse paint. He's like 6'4" and thin as a rake, and he commands that stage amazingly. And I got a really good photograph with him. I'll try and find it and link it and put it on the Facebook page. Just really, really nice guy. He signed a flag we got from the merch stand and some records. He's just a really good guy. But so that's my story when I saw them. So they sort of have really sonically they have progressed quite a way since their first album, which was Restless and Wild, which was a play on words for the Accept album. Restless and Dead, which and then the play on the word for the Accept album, Restless and Wild. Sorry, I'm using notes. I made lots and lots of notes. Russell, pages. And I tend to just scribble really quickly when I'm listening, and sometimes, I'm dyslexic, so sometimes the hardest words, I can't see them when I've written down. I always thought it was interesting that the word dyslexia is a really hard word to spell, even for people who don't have dyslexia. So anyway, that's a side note. They're on Acropolis Records. Restless and the Dead was their first album. It gave it a cult following. They basically have very tongue-in-cheek lyrical concepts and musical concepts. They involving resurrection, murder, necrophilia, executions, lots of morbid topics, but in a tongue-in-cheek way. It's often seen in their story, in their song titles, but they've also got a mascot called Ben Wrangle. He's a skeleton. All good bands should have a mascot, shouldn't they, really? But it's a play on words for the German word Benragel, which is German for skeleton. If I've abused that, dear German listeners, I apologise. I did 1 full year of French at school. I looked out the window and daydreamed I was playing for West Ham and playing in Iron Maiden. So I can say, my name is Tony, I'm 11, and I'm from England. There you go. It didn't help me when I went for my trip to Paris. This is well before the Grand Friet and Big Mac Le Grand Friet and whatever thing from the Tarantino movie. No, this was, we were there in Paris, couldn't speak a word of the language, and the French have a thing about be protective about their language, which is understandable. Lingua franca, and they did not want to talk to me in any shape or form. I desperately tried to kiss a French girl. That didn't work because my friend had told me it was called a French kiss, and he was 2 years older than me, the cheeky bastard, and I didn't know what he was talking about. I just tried to lean in and give her a kiss on the cheek. Had I known what a French kiss was then, I probably would have run away a mile. But anyway, that's a side note. So they've got this morbid kind of imagery. They've gone through quite a few lineup changes. I'm not going to go for all the lineup changes now because it's too many and it will just take up half the podcast. They've made 8 studio albums and 1 EP. And they've had sort of a gap, sort of a weird gap between the album releases. So 1998, 1999, and then 2001. And there's a gap of 5 years, 2006. A gap of 4 years, 2010. A gap of 6, 2016. There's one in 17, and the gap of 5 years, 2022. So they clearly are not the most prolific band in the world. But musically, I think that sort of saves them a bit. Sometimes bands that are extremely prolific tend to water their well, empty the well dry a bit quickly, don't they? So you look at Iron Maiden. They're a prolific band, but they certainly spread their albums apart, particularly later on. Obviously, first out the gate, you're making lots because you're really excited and you've got all this thought. I want to do this. Let's keep. But then you realise, hey, I need time to make this good art, and so they've had several singers. They've got how to describe this? They've got their own version of Dio's horn. So it's basically a W. They touch their thumb to their ring finger, and then they put the other 3 fingers in the air, which makes a W. I didn't see that when I saw them at the Basement, but then I was headbanging too violently that I probably didn't really take notice of any hardcore fans, if there was any. And it was quite a busy night, one of the busiest nights that I've been at the Basement. It was a really, really cool gig. Most people were there. So the albums they've released if you're interested, you've got Restless and Dead, Dead Hot and Ready, Symphony of the Devil, Don't Fear the Reaper, Witchery, alright, and then you've got In His Infernal Majesty, I Am Legion, and the new one, which is Nightside. I went to the I Am Legion tour, so that they were touring that album at the time with the other three bands. Haunted were great. They were really, really good. The only one that sort of felt like old school to me was Witchery. The other two felt like they were trying to be, they'd moved forward. There was a little bit of much more modern sounding versions of their original selves. And the Canberra gig lineup would have been Patrick Jensen and Richard Rimmelfort on guitar, Angus Norden, lead singer, is amazing, Chris Barkinson on drums, and Victor Brandt on bass. Oh no, Victor Brandt came in 2002. I apologise. So he's a later inclusion, so I wouldn't have seen him in 2022. I may have done. He might have been the bass player. I don't really remember. Now, so where they sit. So the Swedes and all those Nordic countries make tremendous black metal. They really do. I think they're the best at it. I think it's something in the water, maybe the glaciers, maybe it's the fact that Sweden is such a happy, lovely place and so easygoing that there has to be a dark side to them, you know. A polished coin one side and an unpolished coin the other, and I think that when you flip that coin and you get people like Witchery and the Haunted and At the Gates and Satyricon and Burzum, all these. I mean, these aren't all Sweden, by the way. I'm just saying from that region of the world. And I think that Witchery are more in sort of in line with Satyricon, particularly with the later Satyricon sound. A lot of people really dislike, a lot of hardcore fans dislike the modern Satyricon sound. I really love it because it's a little bit more inclusive and a bit more less impenetrable. Not that I don't mind impenetrable music. I love impenetrable music, but there's a point where you sort of also just want to settle your hair down and enjoy it, and I think that's what they do really well, and Witchery being part of that same sort of sound. They also have this, not the mic, sorry, let me get my tea. It seems a bit more like, definitely has really sort of a deep DNA with Venom, who are the originators of black metal, who are the best in my opinion of all of them, and I think they've got that, Merciful Fate's DNA. They've got Deep Purple in their audible mix. They've got Celtic Frost, Hellhammer. They've got all those sort of satirical. They've got all those sort of mixed into the sound, and I think that creates this really deep groove. But we'll talk about that when we get to the album itself. So the album was released this year, just last month in July, on the 22nd. Nightside. It runs at 35 minutes and 46 seconds. Now that, listeners, warms my very black soul when it comes to this kind of music, because I want it to be here, be hard, be fast, be gone. Sometimes when it's I used to do a lot of running, so I would run sort of 120 k's a week on average, and on my long run, it was a 4-hour run on a Friday, I would like to listen to a lot of albums, mainly prog on those journeys, because you don't want to have to keep changing, so just let it go through on this sort of meandering thing. But when I'm doing my run, I was running home most days, like a 10 kilometre there to work and 10 kilometres back home, I put on an album. It usually did that about 40 minutes or just on 40 minutes. So I'd want it to sort of be with me for the journey, not have to slow my pace to try and think of something different to listen to. And this is right in that wheelhouse. 35 minutes 46 seconds. It's brilliant. You know, it's not squashing itself onto a vinyl that compresses the sound. It's not, you know, having to put 9 million extra tracks on a CD to fill it out. It's really exactly what people want, and I think we should need to go back to that. I've already had this discussion with you guys. I'm not going to sort of go there again. It is quite intriguing album because it's by their words, it's a concept album. Now, those listeners that don't know what a concept album is, those who listen to the show don't know what concept albums are. They're an album, instead of being a collection of 7 or 8 disparate songs with no real connection. You know, one song's about love, one song's about loss, one song's about my dog, one song's about my car, you know, whatever. All written by different members of the band. A good concept album sometimes is unrecognizable in its story. So it's a storyline. It doesn't have to be a story, but the songs themselves generally connect and then flow on from each other. It's much more thoughtful when you've written the songs where you put them in the mix. So I think that this concept album it's based around devil worship, witchcraft, satanic imagery, a healthy disdain for the papacy, the Pope that is, and side A, we're going to talk about side A and side B. Side A is an easier, a lighter, not that this is a light album, but in region of topics it's a bit lighter. And then side B, when you turn it over, it gets very heavy, very dark in its lyrical imagery and its expression and way it's expressed. It isn't. I just think it's very brave. It's very brave for them to do this because. I mean, I say it all the time that prog is a 4-letter word, you know, it's a dirty word. It isn't so much now because it's sort of trendy to run into these prog metal albums, you know, and people love a bit more integrity, a bit more intensity in their musical diet. But for a long time it was really, you know, you'd cover your eyes, or you'd whisper quietly that you like Genesis, or that you were going to listen to Yes. Could I have that in a brown paper bag when you're buying it from the record shop? That kind of thing, you know. There was a great comedy sketch years ago where a guy goes into a newsagent's and he's got this big stack of magazines, and it's like Big Tit Weekly and Wankers Monthly and, you know, Pink Plastic Donkey Bugger is Manual Volume 1. And then the guys scan them and put them in the bag, and then the last underneath the bottom of the pile is a copy of the Sun newspaper, British newspaper, and the newsagent looks up at the guy and just calls him a pervert and tells him to get out of his store. And I think that's exactly how sometimes I felt buying prog records back in the day, but who cares? I'm out and I'm proud. That's all there is about to it. Anyway, so it's quite a progressive thing, musically and conceptually, and brave. I've listened to the album now probably 7 or 8 times since release, and I still don't get the full conceptual connection. I'm sure someone out there will tell me. I've done some research again, but I couldn't really find it. It's a bit tenuous, to say the least. But it's there. Okay, it's there. So we're going to go to an ad now. We're going to move over. When we get to the other side of the ads, we're going to go track by track into this amazing album and see what I thought of each track. So I'm going to warm my tea up. Hang on. And then I'm going to settle down. So you will hear some rustling of paper and some flicking of things because I made lots of scribble notes. There might be some moments where I pause, where I can't read my handwriting, but you'll get the idea. Anyway, enjoy these commercial breaks, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye, guys.
Have you ever Googled your own name? Prepare for a shock because your personal info, including addresses and phone numbers, is all out there. It's all harvested by data brokers and sold legally. Aura is a personal digital security service that scans the internet for your sensitive information and provides a full suite of privacy-enhancing tools. For a limited time, Aura is offering listeners a 14-day free trial at aura.com/safety. That's AURA.com/safety to learn more and activate the 14-day trial period.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months required. New subscribers only. Renew for 12 months to lock in savings. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com.
Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Welcome back, guys. Fresh tea, and let's have a breakdown of this amazing album. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to shortchange you. I think this is a 5 out of 5 star album. Unbelievable. So we start off with side A, and it's comes Witching Hour. This is a cracking opener. It's a thunderous drums. It's got barrel rolls, tight guitar pieces. It's got sort of cursed guttural vocals. It has this already right from the bat, this Venom-esque Welcome to Hell black metal sound. I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't listening to this when they were about to record this particular song. It has an incredibly amazing middle 8 section. There's a stuff of nightmares. Honestly, it's almost like an hallucinogenic moment. It's sort of, there's an Italian movie, a giallo movie called Orgasmo, and it's very much like that. There's these scenes where, honestly, we watched it, my wife and I, and we thought, shit, did we just take acid? Like, it was weirdest trip stuff going on, just whizzing around her head, and it felt like that in that section there. It was very much like the eye of the storm to come, in the centre of the storm. The bass and drums just took my breath away. Like, I think that this is mixed heavily all right through the album. In the rhythm section is very mixed, very much forward, and I think that creates that cold tundral darkness that the black metal bands of Europe are really good at. And so that's, I mean, it doesn't hang around. 3 minutes, and like all the songs in this album, most of them are 3 minutes. There's a couple of 1 minute 50s. They just jump in, they assault you, they steal your wallet, and they fuck off. They really do. They just take it and go. It's like a smash and grab of your audible senses. Then we follow that one. I mean, I'm going to be really quick the concepts of the songs, because, as I said at the beginning, I'm still trying to understand the concept of the songs lyrically, because I haven't received my vinyl copy yet, and so I can't read the lyrics, because normally I go to the record and listen to the lyrics, or I'll go on Spotify and drop the lyrics section at the bottom. They're not on this for some reason, and I have to wait until I get the record to give you or I could have googled the lyrics, I suppose, but I don't want to get it wrong. I want to make sure it's what's actually written for the song, not what someone's heard. It's a brilliant song. Witching Hour again. A lot of these they take me right back to Venom. I don't know, I keep saying it, but they're just Kronos era Venom. Then you get Burn the Witch, which is one of the highlights of the album. Straight away, second track in, it's one of the highlights of the album. It is groovy beyond belief. Like, it has got a immense groove. If you don't move to this piece of music, I think you must be dead from the hips down or something, because it just moved me. The bass picked me up and shook me around. The lyrical delivery is delicious. Don't burn the witch. It's just I don't want to ruin it, but it's amazing. It's very modern Satyricon, this song. If this was on a Satyricon album, I would have gone, okay. If it followed Black Crow on a Tombstone by Satyricon and that, or King, you'd go, cool, okay, that's a great song. It is one of those sort of, not to use the word poppy or pop-esque, but it has poppy feeling overtones. For me, it has that pop-tastic feel, but just amazing sort of. I say if it's entry level, no, it's easy into me. Like this one will take you. So the first one smacks you around a fair bit, and then this one takes you. The way that this album goes, it does go up and down in these sort of breaths, and this is that moment where it's got you just grooving. It's on an easy keel. I just thought it has got beautiful palm muted guitar pieces. The solos are mixed slightly back, not just enough to sort of give you a little bit of of a punch. Second. Sorry, I just going to move my cup out of the way if I was going to knock it over. So I've written Palm Muted Delirium, Drop Tuned Heaven. Always really is. It's one of the best vocal deliveries, as I mentioned, on this album. I think it's the best vocal delivery that this band has ever had, actually. So sorry if there's any hardcore Witchery fans out there, but this and Nosferatu have this sort of lyrical delivery that it just makes you think, why aren't these people more famous? Why isn't Angus one of those the most sort of like sought after black metal singers in the world? He might be. I mean, I'm just guessing here. It does sort of. It's a sort of song where you want to be seeing it live. You want to be in the pit right at the front. You want to be joining in, arms over each shoulders and head banging and getting into the rhythm. It is very groovy. I mean, I just saw Led Zeppelin a few weeks ago, and that was probably one of the grooviest nights I've had in a very long time, and this would sit in that groove. I don't often hear the term groove with extreme thrash and blackened thrash metal. I'm sure you don't, but it really is very groovy, and I just think I think it's one of those songs I've listened to the album, as I said, 7 or 8 times, and I've gone back to that one song, almost start the album with that one, and moved Witching Hour down to the bottom, down underneath it, but that's a different thing. Okay, so then we go on to Storm of the Unborn. Now, I've mentioned this before. Storm of the Unborn is a story. It's basically a song based around Edgar Allan Poe's Ascending to the Maelstrom. Again, see, so these lyrical connections are quite tenuous. Witching Hour, it's about obviously about witches. You've got your Don't Burn the Witch, so obviously the trials of witches in the 16th 17th century Europe and America. And then you've got Storm of the Unborn, Edgar Allan Poe's Ascent into the Maelstrom. it does have this Rime of the Ancient Mariner-esque feel. Yes, sorry, I know it's both boats, and that's not why I'm going that way, but there is a sort of, when I listen to Rime of the Ancient Mariner, I can get taken away on this sort of sea motion. I can almost feel seasick sometimes with it, with the way that it moves and it attenuates. And I think the same with this one. So this one's a little bit more terrifying, because you can feel the storm. It's got Poe's allegory of a man descending into madness, using the lost, cold starkness of the ocean as a metaphor for his own personal being and his own sense of loss in the universe. And I think it definitely has. It's the most progressive track on the album, because it's sort of something you might hear on, I said, an Alan Parsons album, or even on a Yes album. I mean, not so much the musical concepts and stylings, but certainly the concept itself. Rick Wakeman might have even done it once. Who knows, right? It's so sort of thing you might hear tucked away on an updated, modernized version of something that, like, Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds. It was a single off the album, one of the singles off the album. It's the first one I heard off the album, and as soon as you put Edgar Allan Poe on something and Witchery on something, I'm sold. So it took me away. The video's really good. You can tell why it was released as a single. The others are not really. I mean, there's one more we'll talk about, but even then I don't think that much of a single version. This is a good single though. Alright, so when that finishes, we then get Stent und Flammen. Now again, please don't, German listeners, don't come at me. It's 1 minute 45. It is a soul-crushing, heart-stopping, German English-spoken piece of where they're describing torturing witches. It's very it's very Hopkirk kind of Matthew Hopkins, very Matthew Hopkins-esque. You can sort of hear the thumb screws turning, and the German German is a language that I am sure is beautiful, and absolutely is beautiful, like all language, but it also has this ability to sound terrifying and clinical and angry and dark in sort of equal measures, and I think it's only brief, 1 minute 45, but it captures that moment where I was actually, I have to say, when it got to the end of the song, I wanted more. I was like, 145, where's the rest? Pardon me, excuse me. Some more tea. I had some burger rings with my lunch, and it's sort of coming back and repeating, but not in a good way, unfortunately. Not like, Only Fools and Horses or something. You always want it to repeat. Anyway, so the good thing about this is that these short episodes, these sort of vignettes almost, they punctuate the album to take away some of the, even though it's heavy and dark, it sort of changes momentum. That's where the progression is for me. You're going in a straight line at 100 miles an hour, suddenly it stops sharp, turns left, and slows down at a different pace, at different time signatures, and it's just so clever. We come into the last track on side A, and here's where the dark starts to really jump in. Here we come with the first single that was released off the album, Pope Crusher. Now it says exactly what it says on the packet. It does what you think it's going to do. It is a monumental and unrelenting and unapologetic attack at the papacy. Okay? It is, in my opinion, a thinly disguised stab at Ghost. You didn't hear it from me. You only heard it from me, guys. I'm not gonna get there and cause a court order, but I think it really is. I think that Ghost, also a Swedish band, started out with their Papa, and I love it. I'm going to do a whole episode on Ghost. I can't stand them now. I'm going to be brutally honest. I think they're the worst kind of Kiss, Kiss-alike merch selling, sellout popsters. But the first 3 albums I really love, and the first album, which I came across by a complete accident after an interview from, I was listening to an interview with James Hetfield, and he was saying they're the best thing that he'd heard in years. I hunted down a really rare 10-inch EP, picked it up, bought it for pennies actually, and fell in love with it. It's actually how I met Benji, my good friend Benji, because he was wearing a Ghost shirt and we got chatting. So it has some good things. I think it's a thinly disguised attack at that. It's also obviously obvious it's an attack at the Catholic Church, basically, because the Catholic Church were along. I mean, people. There is a misconception that the Inquisition was as bad as it was. It was bad, but it's been portrayed worse. Torquemada, as the great Mel Brooks once said, Torquemada the amazing. Torquemada, you can't ask him to forgiveness. Torquemada, ask him for help. Let's face it, you can't Torquemada anything. I think it's I badly misquoted that, but you get the idea. So the papacy were one of the main sort of movements behind the heretical destruction of witchcraft and ancient beliefs within the world today. I mean, the papacy. I mean, they are the ones that we changed the calendar. Jesus Christ's birthday, Easter, all this stuff which is pagan-esque, and I hate the word pagan, it's changed by them, and I think that they sort of, it's very single-minded, this song, and it does become very dark, and it is extremely angry, and I love it for that. I love it that it bears its heart on its sleeve. Yeah, there's been lots and lots of tracks and lots of bands from sort of mid 90s onwards, late 80s, sort of Celtic Frost onwards, where there's a lot of very anti-Christian and anti-Catholic sentiment, lyrically, visually, musically. So a lot darker and more seethingly horrendous. But this is what makes this one so dark and so dangerous in that respect, is that it is also so easy to listen to. Whereas a lot of the sort of early black metal stuff that was, I mean, even Venom's anti-Christian statements are easy to listen to, and that's what makes that dangerous as well. Whereas in a good way, guys. What's make like the church burning stuff, the burzums, the really impenetrable black dirge that came out of that particular movement was dangerous, because you couldn't. I think they took it extremely seriously, and you couldn't quite understand where they were coming from, what they were saying. Lyrically, here is quite easy to understand. You do need to go back to it a couple of times to get where I'm coming from here. First listen through, you'd go, well, yeah, I get it, but have a listen back through a few times, and you'll understand why I think it's quite a magnificent piece of anti-religious, anti papal statement. I know, sorry, Catholics out there, I'm not anti-papal at all. This is just how I am sing this particular song. I don't want to cause any problems with people who have deep-seated religious beliefs, because, as I said before in the past, your beliefs are your beliefs, and that's what makes you, and I think it's a fantastic thing, and no one has the right to subjugate and remove that from you. I just listened to a great podcast only a few days ago about a Holocaust survivor, and once you hear that, you really, I'm being Jewish myself, once you hear that, you sort of go to yourself, no, whatever you choose in your life is your choice, Anyway, again, I'm sidetracking. Oh, and it's also International Cat Day today, so I'm going to give my little cat a big cuddle later on. Let's soften the conversation. Let's bring it back a notch. I was getting quite dark and aggressive and not nice. Anyway, so it's got a really great speed metally guitar kind of solo. It's the kind of song where I'd like to say, burn the blue touch paper and stand well back. Like pull the pin and chuck the grenade. Whatever analogy you want to make. It's one of those things that you sort of want to watch from afar and see how it goes and how it plays out. I might be overreading things. I might be overseeing things. I might be overdoing it, but I think it was that way when I first heard it. Anyway, we now move on to side 2, the dark side of the album. Oh, my tea's gone cold. This bedroom's so cold, even in the last month of winter, and it's warming up, but it doesn't. It's like the old adage, the teacups are never big enough. The pint pots always seem smaller, and the chewing gum always loses its flavour on the bedpost overnight. So we're moving to the second side, Left Hand March. Well, come on now. Those that don't know their esoteric and satanic lore, the left hand is the hand that Lucifer sat on, left hand side of Christ when he was expelled from heaven, and so he follows the left hand path. That's why the word sinister is actually Latin word for left. Okay, sinister, dexter, so dexterous or ambidextrous both, and sinister is left. All right, and so you get sinister. All right, and Left Hand March. This is like a call to arms, like a war march from what you left over from the Pope Crusher. So this is like the dark side moving forward out of the light, out of the darkness and into the semi-light. It very much a doom song. It sounds so doomy. It's so deliciously doomy. This is my second favourite song on the album. It sounds like, and I'm telling you what it sounds like when I put it on, I thought I was listening to Killing Joke's Pandemonium, the 1994 album, and the lead song off that album. In fact, I reckon the guitar piece on it, not ripped off is the wrong word, but it's very lovingly inspired by Pandemonium. Killing Joke being one of my favourite bands of all time. I think I've mentioned that before. It's got this... It's so heavy, it's so doomy and heavy. I was almost burnt double. I could feel myself slouching in my seat as this music washed over me. It was so, again, groovy. I don't know, I keep using the word groove. It's so groovy. It's like some of the best modern doom there is. I reckon this if they went and did 6 tracks like this on the album, it'd be a doom classic. Absolute godsend doom classic. It's industrial because that's what Killing Joke invented. So without Killing Joke, no Ministry, no Rammstein, and so on and so forth. So if you like your industrial music, you have to love Killing Joke. If you don't know who they are and you like industrial music, you haven't looked into it. I love Ministry. Saw Ministry several times now. Powerful band live. Brilliant band live. If that's not a drug-fueled fever dream, I don't know what is. So this is, and I've wrote in big letters, fuck, this is what it's about. And it's exactly how I felt this song. This and Don't Burn the Witch just grab you by the balls. And if you haven't got balls, grab you by whatever you have and spin you around. It is unbelievable. Left Hand March. I'm going to in fact listen to it as soon as I finish this recording, because it's making me want to listen to it again. It's just brilliant. What have I written here? Yeah, I've just put Doom Classic on there. I mean, it's slow, it's down-tuned, it's heavily rhythmic, it's pompous, bombastic, aggressive, doom, all the way. It's brilliant. And then after that we get that surge. Remember I said it's like you go a surge forward and then you get a rest back. And under the altar at 1 minute 30 is a instrumental piece that has classical pieces in it. It has some delicious hi-hat work. It does sound like that it's just come off of Dreamweaver. It sounds like an extra from Sabat's Dreamweaver, one of my favourite albums of all time. English thrash sort of band, I don't know, doom thrash band, just brilliant. If you don't know Dreamweaver, I'll do an episode on it one day, I think. Definitely get out and have a listen. Just brilliant. Got that on day of release. I did. 1990, maybe 91, I'm thinking. Anyway, that's a nice little interlude, right? Interlude, as they say in Blackadder. It's a nice interlude, and moves on to where do I begin with this one? This Church Burner. Okay, so clearly, you understand where I'm coming from. So this doesn't pull any punches either. It's one of my least favourite tracks on the album. It's the most extreme track on the album. I've written here moment of mechanical madness. And what I mean by that is that it sounds like they're seesawing. They're cutting a door in half with a chainsaw, like Kronos did when he was recording black metal. It's crazy. It sounds. It is I think a slight homage maybe to the church burnings of the 90s in Norway. I don't think it's a loving eulogy to it. I think it's just using that stark and really quite devastatingly upsetting imagery. I don't want anyone's place of worship destroyed, and I think I know where they were coming from, because they're deeply pagan. And again, I'm rolling my eyes back up when I say pagan, but it's a modern word. I don't mean pagan, I mean pre-Christian. And so for me, it's that. It's very fast. It's very dreamlike as well. It's almost, I've written fever dream. It feels like a fever dream as well. Again, these are 3-minute songs, so they've come and they've gone, right? They're not holding in for very long, which is unusual for a prog-esque kind of album, but their progginess is not about the virtuosity of their music, it's about the difference of which they are making the music. Prog doesn't always mean about virtuosity. Progressive could be anything. It could be turning the format that you always use into something else and go somewhere else with it, and that's progressive. It feels like it's an attack on the papacy again, but on a larger scale in this song. It sounds like the first one was a call to arms, and this was an action to the call to arms. And then we move to Crucifix and Candle. Now, this is a fun piece of music. It swings in with the Lord's Prayer, a bastardization of the Lord's Prayer, and I've always loved that. Marillion did it with Fugazi. Susie and the Banshees did it, their very first gig ever, live at the 100 Club during the punk festival. It is something that is, because the Lord's Prayer is so universally understood, and people know it. They just know it. Even if you're not a Christian and don't read the Bible, you've heard it or know the Lord's Prayer. All right? Okay? It's just one of those things that's always in the zeitgeist. It really, I've written here, it's the most accessible track on the album. Angus's tones down the doom and the growl on the vocal, so it's a little more easy to hear. It's got a really snappy lyrical nuance, a little grab, and it's like the drums. I've written a demented thunder on the drums, tuned down, and it really gives that sort of surreal nightmare feel about crucifix and candle. So again, lyrically, have a listen. I'm still not quite sure, but it seems to me that this is about obviously church burner and Pope Crusher are quite obvious. Crucifix and Candle is about attacking, I think, the ritual within the Christian church, not Christianity itself. I think it might even be something to do with the Eucharist, which is the transubstantiation, which is the turning from wine, from wafer and wine to flesh and blood of Christ. Okay, something that is, millennia old. It is quite a febrile nightmare song, and I think that it really does but it's softer and easier to listen to after Church Burner. So it's nice, sort of a breath back. But do listen. That's again one of my favourites, probably my third favourite song on the album. And then we get to Forest of Burning Coffins. This one is very, very odd. So progressively odd. So odd, in fact, that I wasn't sure what I made of it. It sounds like black metal, but it's played at the same speed that, say, Extreme Noise Terror, a British hardcore punk band, the Exploited, what are we talking about? Napalm Death, not quite as fast as Napalm Death, but Napalm Death, Carcass. It has that real, we're a punk band, and they may have been originally punk bands, I don't know, I'd look more deeply, but it has this real extremity to it. It's something King hit. It's like I got smacked in the back of the face. It's like smashed around the face with it. It was like, I don't know if those guys who live in the UK and a certain vintage, there used to be an advert for Tango, which is an orange drink, where a big fat guy painting orange paint would go up to people and slap them in the face in the street, and then he'd go, "You've been tangoed," he'd run off. And that's how I felt. I think I got tangoed by it. It's quite jarring. It's quite, I don't know if it sits. I still, the jury's out for me if it sits well on this particular album. I love the fact that it's different. I love the fact that it's creative and deliciously alternatively and progressive, but I'm not quite sure. Obviously, Forest of Burning Coffins, again, you have to read into the lyric. I've got to find the lyric. You have to read into what that's about. All I can think of is that it's about resurrection and the Dark Lord rising. That's, I do picture in my head the Japanese forest that's around the base of Fujiyama, Mount Fuji, where the Japanese suicide forest. I for some reason I picture that, but that's neither here nor there. So once you hear it, you'll picture it, you make your own mind up. And then we moved swiftly on to the very last track of the album, Nightside. Time to get your breath back, guys. You've just gone into hyperspace, and now you're going to come back down and have a cruise with this many textured, layered, multi-tracked powerhouse of progressive black metal. It's doom, it's thrash, it's traditional heavy metal. This is one of the best tracks of theirs they've ever ended an album on, and it's almost like John Carpenter or Wes Craven, or Lucio Fulci, or Diamato, or any of those Tobe Hooper, or any of those classic American horror directors and European horror directors have gone, make me a song. I want you to put all your nightmares and all your phobias and all your darkest secrets, and I want you to pile them into 3 minutes, and it has to be 3 minutes. And this, to me, is it. And it is a great way of finishing off. There's some amazing wah in this one. Is it this one? I've written... Yeah, I think it's this. Sorry, guys, my notes. Yeah, I think it's this one. There's some amazing wah pedal work in it. And if it's not this one, it's one of the other ones I just mentioned. But some of the wah work on this album is beautiful. It's almost bluesy. As I said before, where'd the blues go? I think sometimes it comes back in this form of music. You just don't see it unless you really want to see it. But this is a lovely ending to the album. It's available on all formats, but you can get it on vinyl in red and black, limited numbers. I ordered my red copy. I'm probably going to consider getting the black one as well, and I may even get it on cassette. It's technical, it's aggressive, it's progressive. It really blew my socks off, guys. I genuinely mean that. I listen to a lot of music, almost sometimes too much, and I put this on and I was like, yep, well, it's Witchery. Really loved I Am Legion. This is going to be good, is it? I love Nosferatu. What a great track. And then it's like when you put on you've listened to Peace of Mind, which is my favourite Maiden album, and then you put on Power Slave and you go, what the holy fuck just happened then? They just took what they do well and went from 10 to 11. And I think this is going to be up there in the pantheon of some of the greatest black metal albums ever made. Big call, because we've got a long way in life to go and a lot of albums to be made. But I think this truly sits there. If you're not a black metal person, and I know people go out there are not, and they like their trad stuff, and they're a bit nervous about dipping their toes into this sort of music, trust me, it doesn't hang around. It will give you a thrill. It might even change your mind. Listening notes: first listen to Venom's Black Metal and At War with Satan, which is the true gold standard progressive black metal album, and then pop this in, and it will, I think you might see where I'm coming from. Anyway, enough of me jibber jabbering. I'm close to an hour. My throat's a bit sore and I'm a bit tired, so I'm gonna go and take a bit of a lie down. I hope that you all guys enjoy this album. Do give it a good listen. Please do come tell me what you thought about it on my Facebook page at Heavy Metal Tones. I will leave a link below to go to it, and I'll try and link that photograph of me with Angus as well at the basement a few years ago, 2018 I think it was. Anyway, rock and roll, guys. See you soon. Chat next week. Bye, guys.